Winka, thank you very much for being with us. 2 years ago, you participated in the Venice Biennale, and one of the most important in the world. What is important for a city, be Sao Paulo, Sydney, to have an biennial?
Yeah, it is really interesting. There's a big discussion going on because these events have really positive effects and really negative effects. Positive effects, of course, we have a lot of people coming to a city. You experience the culture. It's really good for local economy, hotels, restaurants, shops. Really bad for global footprint, for global carbon footprint. All the people are flying, all the people are wasting materials. So it is interesting because it is a little bit like the Olympics, where they have been trying to figure out how do you make these events more green, how do you make them more um, sustainable, really, which is a really good thought because it's important to keep thinking like, this is one planet we have and how do we take care of the planet?
And how can a biennial affect the lives of the inhabitants of the city? What do you think about this?
Well, I think what is beautiful, of course, is that a biennial is a much larger effort than just a museum exhibit. And so a biennial has a chance to really not only give awareness to the visitors from the outside, but also from the inside. So it really raises the cultural awareness of the city. It really informs people of art, culture, architecture, their own city. They can be proud of their own city. So I think that's all that's all very beneficial, and I think it's in general, of course, a very beautiful one. I think especially here, I really admire how they have tackled it.
What motivated you to be part of the proponent committee of the International Art Biennial?
I don't know. It's I'm also advising on the Venice Biennale, and I'm again in the Venice Biennale this year. But uh, I think what motivates me is, well, the reason why I'm asked is because I'm opinionated. And I'm opinionated because I feel both culture is really important. And I think we all also have to be way more aware of how we tackle things. And I think because I'm very strong in my opinions, I think people do think it's helpful to maybe reflect off of that. I mean, honestly, I don't know why I get invited. Um, the other thing is maybe what I said yesterday in the meeting. Funny enough, I did a TED talk on Bogota in 2013 in TED Global, um, which is kind of strange because I'm originally from Holland and live in New York. So it's a bit strange that a Dutch person talks about Bogota, but that happened because in New York I met a client from Colombia, and he asked me to study downtown Bogota, which at that point was very under inhabited. It was businesses were struggling. It was a colonial town that we literally kind of was deserted, but it had also really good potential and beautiful architecture. So yeah, so I got super interested in Bogota, and I've been talking about it. So I guess makes sense that if there's Biennale here, that especially the person who helped me here was Juan in that time. So I know Juan from 2013, the director of the Biennale. So yeah, so that's been really interesting.
And how do you feel about the Bayous artistic proposal after yesterday's meeting with the orator, Kevin,
Hmm.
and the entire team?
Yeah. Well, I'm super impressed with the choice of artists. I mean, they are the best. I mean, amazing. I love that the age literally ranges from, I think, Alfredo Yares, but 88 or something, to like very young artists that are working with robotics. So that's very beautiful because that gives a beautiful range. It's incredibly generous to give people a commission to um, make an art piece for the city. But what I actually love most is when Juan walked me through the city, and when he originally explained it also, is that he is using um, unused, formerly public buildings as exhibit spaces. And you know what I said earlier about how a big event can be positive and negative. I think this could be really one of the positive things, that by using these uninhabited buildings, maybe people who are, by the way, gorgeous, because they're built in a time when ceilings were high, decoration was voluptuous, materials were solid and really natural still. So I think there is a big value in those buildings. And for me, it's great that they're reusing those buildings. They're cleaning up plazas. They're doing installation on existing plazas in neighborhoods. So people see the art in the city. And I guess that's the name of the Biennale, right? The art in the city, or art in the city. So yeah, I think it's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing for the city.
How can art and architecture be linked as part of an art biennial?
Art and architecture. Well, art is also architecture, or architecture is also art, or as they say, architecture is between science and art. Um, so I think the architecture you have, as I said, the existing buildings, but also I think in some of the buildings will be architectural installations. One of the reasons why I'm also invited, I think, is we are working. This is actually funny enough, one of the installations of Alfredo Jaar, where he says, "Are you happy?" or "Es usted feliz?" Um, which I thought was very beautiful because it's an empty road, in the middle of nowhere. Are we happy? Oh well, and it's also a very existentialist question. So I had studied when I worked with my client in Bogota in 2013. We worked on a bottom-up proposal for downtown Bogota, and we had proposed 5 acupunctures. And acupunctures are maybe a bit abstract, but what it means is, instead of making a master plan that typically fails because governments are too short, they're too large, too difficult, cities, by the time a master plan gets implemented, typically the city has changed. So rather than doing that, we proposed 5 acupunctures, which were studies of neighborhoods with deeply, deeply rigorous studies, really what was there, and then look at how can we do something that will not only create an architecture, mostly will create growth in culture, social growth, economic and political better situations. So we one of the proposals was to convert existing office buildings into student housing, micro housing, very cheap micro housing, so that students didn't have to travel 4 hours, because downtown has 33 schools and universities. So over 1 million people commuting are the students. So if you take that commuting out, you take the pollution of the cars out, you have the money to start to make these micro housings. Micro housing will then stimulate shops downtown, will stimulate restaurants, libraries, the whole thing. So one other one was the River Fucha. And the River Fucha we proposed to naturalize, because we realized flooding of the city only happens because we canalize rivers. You all know why. But so we look at this is actually a project that students are making at the top of the Rio Fucha, which is totally at the start in the mountains. So it's actually, I don't know whether you can see it here, but it's kind of here. So you see it's sitting in the mountains. And what it's doing is it's taking a very terraced approach with some new housing also, but to kind of see whether urban agriculture, terraced platforms, large absorption of water, filters the water, cleans the water, make sure the water gets to the city healthy. So that's one of them. And there's then 4 other ones. So it's a nice little punctual sort of points along the river approach, where one is collecting garbage, recycling, one is using flower, thinking about happiness, right? Thinking about how flowers can clean pollution. So it's making large flower beds in the middle of the city as a park, but cleans in the same time the soil. So yeah, projects like that.
You have a special relationship with Bogota. What do you like the most about our city? How will you define Bogota?
Bogota. How do I define Bogota? Can anyone define Bogota in less than a few hours? That's a difficult one. I think, well, what struck me the last time I was here is the people and the fact that it's, well, the people are amazing to me. They're cultural, they're super kind, they're very caring. Um, they're really fun, I think. You know, I love hanging around with my friends. I made so many friends over the years. I've been here now coming since 2012, so it's a bit of a time. But the other thing I love, it's a very green city. You have, of course, an almost tropical, subtropical climate. So, you know, abundance of flowers and even birds in the city is very special. Most cities don't have birds anymore, which is strange. So yeah, in that sense, it's a beautiful city to live in. I was the other day for the first time in a neighborhood, I forget the name, that in Bogota that did not have trees. And that was that was actually the first time I saw an area in Bogota that doesn't have trees. So yeah, it's a beautiful city. I think the art museums are amazing. But also I really love the fact that here people feel that they can start a business and then they start another business and then they start another business. So no one has one business, right? If they work in a restaurant, they also have a bar. Or if they, like Juan has an architecture office, but is also director of the Biennale. So yeah, it's, and I'm a little bit like that too, so that attracts me, I guess.
Um, are you coming back on September for the?
Yeah.
Okay, very nice. Do you have references? What do you know about the Colombian artists in general?
A lot of those artists was new to me, so I really look forward to seeing their work. Yeah. Really impressive was how equal the quality was, as in super high the quality was of all the artists. Um, I loved a lot of the artists that Maria proposed and that, but I honestly don't know much about. That's the one thing I'm gonna learn this fall. Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, I'm definitely coming. Yeah, of course. You can't be an advisor and not show up, right?
Aquí sí pasa. Bogotá, mi ciudad, mi casa. Alcaldía Mayor de Bogotá.